A young woman who had recently graduated from high school left a mall and vanished without a trace. The police, along with her relatives and concerned locals, immediately started a search, but they couldn't find her. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a series of chilling clues that led to an unexpected and shocking revelation, one that sent shockwaves through their town and the entire nation. Lauren Astley was born on April 1st, 1993, in the small town of Wayland, Massachusetts. She grew up in a loving family and was an only child. When she was 6, her parents decided to get a divorce, but her father stayed in the same town and remained very involved in her life. Once, Lauren and her dad traveled to New Orleans to help those affected by Hurricane Katrina. Even though she was quite young, Lauren pitched in alongside her father, working to clean up the mess left by the disaster. Since elementary school, Lauren was very active in sports. She started with soccer, but later discovered a passion for tennis, where she achieved some notable results. But her true love was singing. She joined the school's music group and began performing at various events with them. During high school, Lauren got a part-time job at a clothing store in a local mall. After graduation, she planned to attend college in North Carolina and wanted to save up some money before heading off. Lauren graduated from high school in the summer of 2011 at 18 years old. After finishing school, she spent most of her free time with her parents and friends. Knowing she'd soon be moving across the country, she wanted to make the most of her last few months at home. On the morning of July 3rd, Lauren headed to her shift at the mall, just like any other day. Beforehand, she had made plans to meet up with her friends right after work, and they were expecting her to call. Around 6:30 p.m., Lauren finished her shift, said goodbye to her coworkers, and left the mall. Her friends waited for her call, but for some reason, Lauren didn't reach out. They started sending her messages and trying to call her, but there was no response. This was unusual since they were always in touch with each other. At first, they thought Lauren was just busy and would call them back soon. Meanwhile, her father also began to worry. Lauren was supposed to stop by his place after work, but she never showed up. His calls went unanswered as well. A little later, he contacted Lauren's friends. When he learned that they hadn't seen or heard from her all evening, he decided to go to the police immediately. Their town was quite small, and Lauren's parents couldn't think of any place where she might have gone. The fact that she didn't meet up with her friends and wasn't answering any calls made them fear that something bad might have happened to her. The local police department quickly launched a search, and around the same time, Lauren's friends reported that one of them had spotted her car near a beach by a lake. Officers rushed to the scene and found Lauren's red Jeep. She wasn't inside, but her purse, phone, and laptop were, with the windows rolled down. This raised immediate concern for the police. Lauren's friends and family were adamant she would never leave her car like that with her belongings inside. Her father was frantic. He ran to the beach and waded into the water, thinking that his daughter might be there. The police searched the car, but found no sign of a struggle, no blood, or any other clues. After that, they began combing the area around the beach, but there was no sign of Lauren. The only thing they discovered was her car keys, which were found in a nearby storm drain, as if someone had deliberately thrown them there. By this time, Lauren's friends had gathered near the beach, and detectives began questioning them. They mentioned that Lauren had an ex-boyfriend, Nathaniel, whom she had broken up with just a few months earlier. The friends also said that he had taken the breakup pretty hard, so the police decided to check on him. When asked if they thought Nathaniel could have harmed Lauren, her friends unanimously denied it. They insisted that Nathaniel loved Lauren and would never hurt her. Later that night, detectives went to talk to Nathaniel. He told them he had been home all evening. His mother backed up his story, adding that they had been watching movies together. With that, the police ruled him out as a suspect and shifted their focus to searching the area around the beach. Lauren's relatives, along with dozens of other town residents, joined in the search. Her friends stayed by her car all night, hoping for a miracle that she would eventually appear. That night, the police also examined Lauren's phone, and they found something interesting. At 7:05 p.m., she had sent Nathaniel a message with just one word: "Here." 14 minutes before that, she had called him, and they had talked for a few minutes. This was pretty suspicious, so detectives decided to visit Nathaniel once again. He admitted that Lauren had indeed stopped by around 7 p.m., but she hadn't come inside or even gotten out of her car. They talked for about 5 minutes, mostly about their relationship, and then she just left. He explained that this seemed unimportant at the time, which is why he didn't mention it earlier. Nathaniel appeared completely calm, and nothing about his behavior raised any red flags, so the police continued to investigate other potential leads. The search continued throughout the night until an early morning call came into the police. A woman had gone for a bike ride along the road by the river. As she passed a small marsh, something strange caught her eye, and she stopped. Upon closer inspection, she realized it was a human body in the water and immediately called the police. When officers retrieved the body, they saw that it was Lauren Astley. It was also immediately clear that they were dealing with a murderer. A bungee cord was wrapped around her neck, and there was a noticeable cut. The body was sent to medical examiners, who confirmed that the cut, along with strangulation, was the cause of death. They also found numerous defensive wounds on her body, indicating that Lauren had fought back against her attacker. Meanwhile, the police searched the area around the marsh and discovered a blood-stained towel nearby, which was sent to the lab for DNA analysis. Now that the police were dealing with a murder, they turned their attention to finding the killer, and the only viable suspect at that point was Nathaniel. After speaking with Lauren's friends and family, they learned more details about their relationship and breakup. Lauren and Nathaniel had started dating 3 years earlier, and for most of that time, their relationship seemed perfect. Nathaniel came from a respectable family, played on the school football team, and was generally one of the most popular guys at their school. However, about 2 years into the relationship, things began to deteriorate. Nathaniel grew increasingly jealous, tried to control who Lauren spent time with, and even started drinking heavily. Lauren's friends noticed these issues and saw how they were taking a toll on her. They repeatedly advised her to consider ending the relationship. The couple would break up frequently, only to get back together again. But 3 months before Lauren's death, she decided to end things with Nathaniel for good. According to her friends, Nathaniel took the breakup very hard. He tried to persuade Lauren not to leave him, showing up to talk with her and calling frequently, but she was firm in her decision not to get back together. After the breakup, Nathaniel fell into a deep depression. He stopped leaving the house, cut off contact with his friends, and lost interest in football, which had always been his passion. Even though he had received a sports scholarship for college, he no longer cared about it. While sitting at home, Nathaniel began drinking and smoking. His mother eventually decided to take him to a therapist, and after a few sessions, the therapist suggested that Nathaniel might indeed be suffering from depression. Even though he had withdrawn from his social circle, Nathaniel continued trying to rekindle his relationship with Lauren. Once, Lauren and her friends organized a graduation party, which was attended by dozens of their classmates and their parents. Nathaniel showed up drunk and saw Lauren talking to other guys. He approached her and tried to discuss the relationship, but Lauren made it clear that she wasn't interested. Nathaniel became angry. There was a large tent set up in the yard where the party was held, and in his frustration, Nathaniel punched one of the tent supports, causing the whole structure to start collapsing on the people inside. They had to hold it up, and Nathaniel was immediately asked to leave. After that, Lauren came to her mother in tears and told her that Nathaniel wouldn't leave her alone. In another incident, Nathaniel approached a guy Lauren was talking to and threatened to kill him. All these details led investigators to seriously consider that Nathaniel might be involved in Lauren's murder. He was the last person to speak with her and see her alive. However, the police still faced one major obstacle: his alibi, provided by his mother. As the investigators dug deeper, they uncovered another interesting detail. Reviewing security footage from the mall where Lauren worked, they saw that Nathaniel had been there about an hour before her shift ended. Although he didn't approach Lauren, he did visit a sports nutrition store on the same floor. The police decided to visit Nathaniel again and talk about what they discovered, but this time, he wasn't at home. His parents told the officers that Nathaniel had left several hours earlier, and they had no idea where he was. When investigators questioned his mother again about whether she was home the entire evening, this time she remembered that she had actually gone out briefly to run some errands. This just so happened to be around the time Lauren had visited Nathaniel after work. For the police, this meant that Nathaniel didn't have an alibi, making him the prime suspect. With all these facts coming together, the police obtained a warrant to search Nathaniel's home. Their first stop was the garage, where they immediately noticed several bungee cords, exactly like the one found around Lauren's neck. Using luminol, forensic experts discovered a large bloodstain on the garage floor that had been cleaned and was invisible to the naked eye. Blood traces were also found on the door handle, the kitchen floor, and in 2 sinks. Soon after, investigators found a sports bag containing sneakers covered in blood and dirt. In Nathaniel's room, there was a small door leading to the attic, where the police discovered another pair of blood-stained shoes, along with wet, dirty clothes. The detectives sent all these items to the lab, and the results quickly confirmed that the blood belonged to Lauren. The police immediately began searching for Nathaniel, and just a few hours later, they found him at his aunt's house. During the arrest, Nathaniel did not resist and remained calm. He was brought in for interrogation, but his parents quickly hired a lawyer, so the detectives were unable to get a confession. Nathaniel was charged with murder, and the case was handed over to the court. While preparing for the trial, investigators uncovered even more troubling details. Nathaniel's cousin, with whom he was staying at the time of his arrest, revealed that on the night of Lauren's murder, Nathaniel had called her, asking to hang out to clear his head. Although she was busy, they met the next day, around the same time news of the body being found had spread through the town. When his cousin asked if he had any connection to the murder, Nathaniel's response was chilling. He said, "They'll never find the murder weapon, if that's what you mean." He then admitted to driving Lauren's car to the beach. Another disturbing discovery was that Lauren had agreed to meet with Nathaniel that evening only because his mother had come to her workplace asking her to talk to him. She was worried about her son and hoped that a conversation with Lauren might help him deal with the breakup, never imagining the tragic outcome that would follow. While Nathaniel was in jail without bail, his lawyer announced plans to seek a not guilty verdict. Although he did not deny that his client committed the murder, he argued that Nathaniel was in a state of mental breakdown at the time and should not be held accountable for his actions. If the court accepted the lawyer's argument, Nathaniel could face several years of mandatory treatment, after which he might be released. The trial began on February 13, 2013, a year and a half after the murder. The prosecution presented their case, arguing that Nathaniel not only understood the severity of his actions, but had premeditated the murder. According to their version, Nathaniel had arranged to meet Lauren after her shift when his parents would be away. Detectives also found that he instructed Lauren not to park at his house, but to leave her car on a nearby street. Once Lauren arrived at his home, he led her to the garage, where he stabbed her multiple times and strangled her. He then drove her Jeep to the beach, discarded the keys in a storm drain, and returned home on foot. Nathaniel then loaded Lauren's body into the trunk of his car and drove it to the swamp, where he dumped the body in the water. Afterward, he went home to clean up the bloodstains. Notably, police found a witness who had seen Nathaniel that evening. Based on the timing, the witness saw him returning home from the swamp. He was shirtless, and loud music was playing from his car. Nathaniel's lawyer did not deny that he had killed Lauren. However, the defense argued that the murder resulted from a temporary psychotic episode, claiming that Nathaniel was unable to control his actions. Several experts testified that Nathaniel had a family history of schizophrenia, which might have contributed to his condition. They also noted his involvement in football, where he had regularly received strikes to the head. They also argued that Nathaniel suffered from depression, which impaired his ability to understand his actions. Nathaniel himself told psychologists that during the murder, it felt as though he was not in his own body and couldn't control anything. The prosecution, however, insisted that these theories did not align with the evidence. They argued that Nathaniel lured Lauren to his home, killed her over a period of several minutes, then disposed of her car, transported her body, cleaned up the blood, and hid his clothing. The sequence of actions suggested a well-planned crime, rather than a sudden, short-lived episode. Ultimately, the jury found Nathaniel guilty of the murder, and the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After the verdict was announced, Lauren's father did something unexpected. He approached Nathaniel's parents and hugged them. He later explained that, on that day, They too had lost their child. Following the trial, Lauren's father established a foundation in her memory aimed at preventing similar tragedies. The foundation focuses on promoting educational initiatives to raise awareness among teenagers about the dangers of unhealthy relationships and the unacceptable nature of violence in any form. One more thing worth mentioning is that in 2021, the Supreme Court ruled that individuals under 20 cannot be sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Since Nathaniel was exactly 20 at the time of his sentencing, he might theoretically be able to apply for parole in the future, though there have been no developments in that direction yet. Lauren's parents took this decision very badly. Her mother stated that since Nathaniel took their daughter's life, he should not have the right to live his own and should remain behind bars for the rest of his life. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments section, and don't forget to press the like button if you enjoyed my video. Thank you for watching.